It's Ash from Super Videos, back for another video for Season 10 of The Walking Dead. In this video, we're going to be taking a look at a new theory that's been going around for a while, and that theory revolves around the Saviors. So the theory is that ex-Saviors have become Whisperers, or became Whisperers. Now, let's explain that theory a little bit more before I share my thoughts about whether I think that theory is false or it actually could come true. So the theory is that ex-Saviors, of course excluding Jed's group who Carol killed in season 9, and those who have basically spread between the other communities like Hilltop and Alexandria. So these Saviors have found the Whisperers and joined them. So where is the proof? Where is the evidence? There isn't really any real evidence out there, but there are subtle hints. So if you take a look at this specific scene, when we have Negan, right after he basically survives the death trap that Beta put him in. Now as he walks in, there are some Whisperers who are not wearing any masks who appear to be extremely shocked to see Negan. I've circled some of those Whisperers in the thumbnail, but they're pretty obvious to spot even in this picture here. Now there's several reasons why they would be this shocked. These could either be Whisperers who got to know Negan or who were paying attention to the situation and they knew that Beta was basically sending Negan to his death in a way. So they were shocked because Negan escaped. And if they knew Negan because they spent some time with him when he was at the Whisperers camp, then they're still shocked because they just realized how much of a badass Negan is. Now the other way this could go is that they don't know Negan because he was in the Whisperers camp. Maybe they know Negan from before. Maybe they are ex-Saviors. Now the issue with this is, wouldn't Negan recognize these ex-Saviors? You could actually explain that fairly simply by just saying Negan didn't know all of the Saviors. There were tons of Saviors. So that could definitely be a way to explain that, if these are in fact Saviors and Negan didn't recognize them. Also, the other thing that ties into this conversation is the Whisperer who shared his food with Negan after Beta refused to let him eat earlier on in the season and obviously got killed for that action, could either be a sympathetic Whisperer or he could also be an ex-Savior. Now, in my opinion, I think it's more likely that he was just a sympathetic Whisperer, and I think that adds a lot more to the story and it makes things more interesting and it adds more value to that moment than if he was an ex-Savior. But what are my thoughts on this entire theory that there could be ex-Saviors that are in the Whisperers camp who could have reacted to Negan in a certain way in that specific moment? So I think although it's extremely likely that some Saviors did join the Whisperers, and I think it would be a cool and interesting way to remix the story and kind of show the different layers of power struggle and the connections at the Whisperers camp, it doesn't really add too much to the story if it's true. Like, suppose that there are ex-Saviors there. Suppose they did react to Negan because they know who he is, because they know him from being the leader of the Saviors. What does it add to the story? Unless they are using this to remix another bit of the comic story arc. They can mix it up and remix it with the comic story where Negan forces the remaining Saviors to fall in line when he is released. Of course, that story has nothing to do with Saviors being Whisperers or anything like that. They are just Saviors who are acting out of line. And Negan basically puts them back in line and basically makes them fall back in line and support and follow Rick Grimes. So they could remix it that way. But the main concern with that is that they've kind of already remixed that story in the comics to an extent because of the story that they did with Carol and Jed's group, and also how they remixed Negan and Brendan's story. And I think if you put both of those stories that they did together, you can see that in some way they are remixes of that story from the comics that they pretty much skipped over at this point. So because of that, I don't think it adds too much more value to the story or it does anything to the story if they want to just remix it and have the Whisperers be Xavier's. But with that said, I do think they could remix it still and have it happen. It's just that I don't think it really adds anything to the story. But that's pretty much everything I wanted to talk about in this video, but I want to know everyone's thoughts and opinions. What do you think about the theory that Xaviers have become Whispers? And do you think that they could do something with that? They could remix the comic story? Or do you think that it's just a fun Easter egg? And if you think they're going to do something with it, what do you think it's going to add to the story? And how is it going to push the story forward in a way that makes sense? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. That's it for this video. See you next time for another super video. If you like what you see, press like, subscribe for more content, and press the bell button to receive notifications for daily uploads.